Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on the country that you are. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share with you guys what was our journey in terms of creating our corporate cloud, what we have done, and what we expect to do using the cloud as a transformation way of doing things. Just a quick glance of who you are. We are a company on the energy sector. We are the fourth worldwide in terms of renewable energy. We have presence in all over the world: Brazil, United States, Europe, and some specific places in Asia. We do solutions across the entire value chain. We have more than 10 million customers in energy, and we have almost 20,000 employees in our company all over the world. So let's start. I'm going to present you what is the possible start for some companies about the journey to the cloud. That is the signature of the contract. And why presenting this? Because at this moment we are dealing one most important topic, that is expectation. That is a strong belief that something will happen or be the case, but is a very personal expectation, is a very personal feeling. And what kind of expectations we have when we sign a contract with a cloud provider? Well, the expectation with the business, where the business wants to start the cloud now at this moment, because it's secure, it's easy, as they sell to all of them. It's secure because the cloud provider is a big company, and surely they will keep the security for us, no problem. And mainly, the business wants their own space, because it's their opportunity to create their own systems, they create their own integration and do the things without the need to involve the IT people. And of course, if the money comes from the business, they will surely control their cost. Integration, no need, because now it's more simpler. Just point to the other system and grab the data. So no need for integration platforms or something or things like that. So why can we just start now? The cloud is a business need, is a promise for agility and for business. So we have also the pressure from the security guys. The guys that says, well, wait, because cloud is more risk. Who will secure really the cloud? It will be us or will be the cloud provider? We see the share responsibility model, and is not quite a cloud provider that will secure the systems for us. Or can I control the security on cloud? Because I'm used to control it on premise in my own systems, so it's easy, much more easy. On cloud is different. Or can I assure the compliance? Because the infrastructure on the cloud provider is shared between the other customers. So what I need to do? And our practice in our data centers are mature. Everything is very close. My hardware, my room, my storage, my network. So I'm closed. I'm secure, by the way, and it's more easy to implement security policies on them. So how can I make the business and operations and all the stakeholders understand that there are no risks, and so we need to avoid them? We cannot start like this. We need to think about it. Also, the technical stress and the technical guys. So no need for system administration and TE? No. Agile DevOps, what? Development teams accessing to production environment without the need of my participation? No. We are not prepared for this. These new technologies and operation models that are selling, we need to understand this. We need to operate this. They need us. So yes, I can automate, but until I understand this fully, I will approve manually everything that is automated. So yeah, we need to understand also the cloud provider, because they have SLAs. So they failed, and I need to make sure that our applications are resilient, and they will not guarantee this is resilient for us. So how can I use the cloud in a controlled way? And finally, of course, the developer that talks directly with the business and sell the projects to them. Let's say cloud is agile. Give us a space and we implement our project for them. We will support it with DevOps. So the ops is the cloud provider. We don't need IT infrastructure guys. So no need for standard, because this is agile, flexible. We ask what you want as we want. So we don't need to make standard servers or standard procedures. As we go, is agile. Disaster recovery, no need, because cloud never fails. Backups is embedded on the services. Security controls Yes, we will abort that, but cloud is secure. So first things first, we need to make focus on the business need. We need to develop applications. We are agile. We have autonomous team, so we can do everything. The business is our focus. Okay, in the meantime, we have the CIO. The CIO that thinks and understands this, that says cloud is strategic. We need to transform ourselves. We need to be more agile, flexible, automated, more digital. And the cloud is the way to do that because they provide us the tools for it. We need to lower our costs in a controlled way because I know that the cloud can be more expensive. But if I do it in the right way, I have other savings, and in global, I will save money. So cloud should not represent more risk. Cloud should be considered as a safe place to develop our applications, to put our data. So I need to address all these concerns and needs: the business, operations, security, developers, the compliance, my company as a whole. So how can I create my corporate cloud? So we make a different path. We start 1 year at least before the sign of the contract. But we have also those expectations in place. But the path was changed at the moment that we start thinking what is our corporate cloud. So we involved all the stakeholders, the business, the IT guy, the operation guys, the security, and we discussed what will be our corporate cloud. Starting to definition if it's a cloud oriented to the companies of our group, or if it is like we have on data centers on premise, a cloud based on the applications. Is a cloud where we will work in agile with things. We present what is the continuous integration and continuous deployment methods and policies so they can understand the new way of doing things, the new way of develop applications. Yes, we clarify and we identify what you need to assure to be compliant, to be more secure, and with risk control. We define with them also the objectives and the associated transformation level that we need to do as a company. What will be the cost savings that we want to get when approaching the cloud? What we need to do to transform our applications? When we move, and I will present later on this methodology that we use, that is the 6R methodology, based on a methodology created by Amazon and Gartner, and also about the new implementations, where instead of buying packages of software, as we're used to do it, we start to develop our own applications based on agile method and continuous integration, continuous deployment, using the solutions that cloud provide for us. And also change our legacy applications to API-driven applications to make sure that they are lossless in between, they are more digital, and they deal with the latency that is a key point for adoption to the cloud, because the speed of light, as I say, we cannot change that. So the time to reach the services are the times of light. Also, if you do the same things on premise, if you do the same things on cloud that you do on premise, we get the same results. So the operations need to change, and the operations need to have a goal of to be more fast and to be more stable. So less incidents, more automation, more predictable, to be more predictable about what can happen and what should do, more oriented to the service. Also, the cloud is a place where we can put our data, we can explore that data, we can apply machine learning, artificial intelligence, and all of the things that our business need to better understand and react and think about the future. And also, of course, is a place to innovate. We are implementing a lot of MVPs. We are also boarding the OT. We have an approach to be PaaS-oriented, so less infrastructure, more as a service, and this is a place to innovate. So, but to do this, to adopt the cloud, we need a compromise and we need to invest. Invest on the people, invest on organization. You create some roles, a cloud portfolio manager that helps the business to understand what is a SaaS service that he wants to buy. So how does it fit in the global architecture? Which are the compromise that he needs to accept? Because there are SLAs, there are some compromise about security, about data, about the different roles and the different topics. We create a big data competence center. We create the cloud architecture that I'm responsible to lead, and of course the cloud dev competence center that, based on what the cloud offers, we select the right tools and the right languages and the right services to develop our new applications. Also, investment on transformation projects. Grab some applications that are on-premise and need to be prepared to move to the cloud. And also in terms of applications, change some applications to products that are more agile, more easy to implement, and more easy to move to the cloud also. And of course, this based on the roadmap and a business case that he presents to the board to make sure that this is the cloud of everyone. We know clearly what is the investment need to be made, and we know also which are the benefits that goes with that investment. So this is one of the topics. That is the way that we analyze with the business for the more than 300 applications that we have for how to move to the cloud. We analyze based on the 6 R's. The application will be retired. And this is a very important topic about the retirement because you will get fast savings on this, and I'll explain later. The application that for some reason cannot move to the cloud, so retain. The applications that will move to the cloud with rehosting, that means as is, or adopting some PaaS services in between, for instance, the web application server or the PaaS services for the database, and the refactor, the architect, that is the real transformation, that is, I not get this application as a package, I will rebuild this application based on cloud native tools. And of course, the repurchase, that is buying this application as a SaaS services. 44% of our applications were determined to go to the cloud. 34% of applications were determined to be killed. And based on this, imagine that for the ones that goes to the cloud, 26% of applications were determined by the business with us that they wanted to refactor, re-architect their applications. And this is the real transformation on the cloud. Because after doing this, or starting to do this, more and more applications are being developed in a different way. So if you do it, as I said before, on cloud, the same as you do on premise, the results will be exactly the same. So there is here a transformation of the operation, a transformation of how develop. And to make a real DevOps environment, we need to have automation. So that's where the place we explain this, the place where I define that we put in place pipelines in case based on Jenkins to support our continuous integration and continuous deployment of our applications. That's where they understood that altogether they need to do it differently. And I think that is essential to get the benefits of the cloud. Don't do the same on cloud as you are used to do on premise. So the project was bought by the board. So everyone is a board and everyone knows how it will be our cloud, our corporate cloud. Now, the next step is to define where we will install this new cloud, how do we access it, and how do you operate it, and how do you create applications on it. So we start to define the foundations for this. We select what will be our cloud providers, our strategic cloud providers. We selected 4. We have Azure as our main cloud provider. We have Google as the cloud provider when mainly we do our native applications, our cloud native applications. And we have also, looking for it, Amazon and Oracle. But these 2 are the ones that we are working now. The others, they are on the radar. And if there is some niche, yes, we will use it as predicted. So also the network changed completely. Our WAN network or local networks, they stopped to be the central point. Now the users are working on the cloud. So the central point of communication is something between our local networks and the cloud networks. So need to put direct links to the cloud providers. In our case, since we are multi-cloud strategy, we have implemented a multi-cloud link to make sure that to application to talk with other application that is in the cloud or other cloud provider does not need to go on premise to talk with them. They talk between this backbone that is in the middle, and the users will access to those services more easily. So we need to adapt our corporate cloud. Also, the operations. We change our provider, the operates, because we have outsourcing, not because just because it was a time to change it, but it was one of the requirements, the knowledge, the certification on the cloud providers, so they can know how to operate, and they will work with us to this transformation of the operation. The application development the same. So today is not really, we don't use waterfall method with a big maintenance application provider. We have agile teams, so we need to grab the skills for different skills from different providers to create these agile teams. So the competence exists on these agile teams to make sure that you can implement applications in the right way on the cloud, on the new methodology of agile and continuous integration, continuous deployment. Also, the internal capacity, and this is a key factor. The cloud will be what we want. The providers will do what we want them to do based on our strategy with our needs. So it's essential for us, for our internal people, to know what is the cloud, what is agile, what is all these methods and technologies that we are pushing to be implemented by our partners and, of course, supported by the clouds. And as I said before, start to retire the applications as soon as possible, even before moving to the cloud. Why? Because you reduce the weight, you get a lot of savings of this, and of course, they are quick wins, so they can be reporting to the board, and the board will be happy because the move to the cloud starts with saving money. So I think that is a very important point. So the foundations are defined. We know where to put our cloud, we know how to reach it, we have the skills, or we are building the skills, and well, so let's start it. But when you buy a home or want to live in a home, the first thing that we look to it is to a floor plan. We define and think what will be the living room, what will be the kitchen, that is the shared areas, what will be our rooms, the private zones where only some persons need to enter, and we imagine the people walking by through the corridors. And so we imagine that because we think of living there. We imagine ourselves, our friends, to live on their house. So the cloud will be the new home of our company and data. So we need to do the same thing. We need to define how it will be this house. So is it very important, it's essential to define the reference architecture for the cloud. Based on what we have done already on premise, because it's not badly done, it's well done, but needs probably to be adapted, but it's important to define it, to understand how we work together with the cloud on premise based on the model of the cloud that we defined before. In our case, the cloud is based on applications, so we defined the zones that are public, the zones that represent the services that are exposed to internet, the zones where we have the components that connects to our internal network, the zones for the production applications, the zones for the non-production applications, the zones for the sandbox, where some business for specific needs wants to try the cloud, but in a governed and controlled way, and the shared zone, or the zone that has the shared services for security, for management, and others that need to see all the environment and main control of that. Create this reference architecture and apply it to the different cloud providers so you can understand what is the difference between them, because they are equal, but they are so different in the way that you implement those services. Okay. So, an example, we apply this reference architecture, for instance, on Azure, and we review it, where we define the regions that we want to use based on the latency, based on type of services that they have, because the services are not available on all the regions, because we define also how we will make disaster recovery on the cloud, because for some companies, just use one region will be enough. In our case, based on the risks, because we don't have those regions in our country, our disaster recovery policy supports in more than one region, and how to ensure the compliance. Also, we define the landing zones and the way the systems are segregated to make sure that the security policies are applied and defined. So all the traffic is predicted. We know exactly what is the by default allowed traffic and what it is not by default allowed traffic. So zero trust thinking on it. Integration, that means which are the integration platforms that need to be implemented on that cloud to make sure that the systems that need to talk between on that cloud, they don't need to go to the other clouds on premise to talk. So there is the right services on the right place, and most important, the governance model, We identify the responsibilities of the services, responsibility of who can do what on its region or on its subscription, on this application by roles, the process associated with them, because they need to change, because you adopt, of course, Agile, you adopt DevOps, so some processes need to change. The naming convention is essential because some names are global and is very important in volume to the names to be to have the right meaning. And of course, here a key point: the cost control and chargeback. There is no resource on the cloud, even on premise, but mainly on cloud, that does not have an owner, and we don't know who will pay for it. Because if no one wants to pay for it, there is no need for it. So it's very important, the definition of this type of cost control and chargeback methodology and reference, to make sure that any resource as its own is the only way to control the costs on the cloud. So we have the place, we have the power plant, we know how to build it. Now we want to use it. Yes, so we need to make it ready to be used. We need to build the walls, you need to put the gas, the energy, the water, the doors, the alarm, to make sure that we can open doors and we start to put our furniture. That means our applications, our data. And for that, you need to make it ready. So we called a program readiness. And why? This is just after the signature of the contract. And the pressure began to appear, the expectations. Even though we make all the definitions as I showed to you, of course, there is expectations. There is, okay, guys, now you signed the contract, let's start to put applications. We understand those things that we talked before, but yeah, they are easy, let's go. No, we had a project, we are able to contain that expectation with a readiness program. And because we're preparing Azure, we call it Azure Readiness. So what was the objective of this readiness process? Was 3 points: enablement of the teams. This is a new world, this is a new technology, so it is important for them to understand now in technical details what is the cloud, in this case the Azure cloud. So workshops, hands-on, the guidelines, because we'll do different way on the cloud, specifically on the Azure, that we do on premise, so best practice and guidelines, and we review the reference architecture on those topics that are referred here, from network security to big data, governance, integration, and development. Who does that? Because the cloud is from everyone, it was done by us in a transversal way. People from the different teams, they define it how this cloud will be implemented. It was them that defined which were the pieces that need to be implemented, which was the governance model need to be implemented, so the cloud can be open to start to be used. So we create 9 streams: cloud control, architecture, cloud dev, security, operations, integration, applications, and each of these streams had a champion, that is a person that represents that competence, a guy from, for instance, from cloud cost control and governance that represent this stream, and with other people from the team, they define what need to be done. We had also, to support us, the creation of that pieces and creation of that model, the help of Microsoft as our technical guys to do this implementation. So, but this is not an open thing. This is very objective. They define the real deliverables for this. So to contain that expectation and the pressure, we define that in 2 months, we will work cloud first. So in 2 months, we will define and implement the minimal pieces to allow us to open the doors in a controlled way, because the projects, they don't come up all at the same time. So in a controlled way, we open the doors, the application starts to enter, we learn with it, and we evolve for the next phases. So 3 phases. The first one, the quick win, where you take the pressure out of us, but we define it, the cloud, with the right model, with the right policies. The second, effective control. And the third, a complete integration, where the Azure cloud, as the other clouds that go through this process, are as equal as our data centers. And they talk in between. Applications that are in production on Azure, they talk without any problem with applications that are in production on my on-premise, and the same on other clouds. So it was ready. So let's use it. So we start the process of move to the cloud. So we already moved 30 applications in 2020. We expect to move 85 of our applications in 2022, and we already deactivated 204 applications. We expect, to deactivate 204 applications in 2022 also inside of this project. But we also change, as I said before, we transform ourselves for the new things. So we have already 424 APIs in our applications already. So the applications are becoming more digital. We have more than 31% today because the new applications came on cloud. So more than half our applications are on cloud. We have already disabled 125 applications with savings, and that's a good message to passing always to the board. We have 90%, more than 90% of our deploys automated, which is important to make sure that you can automate, okay? And of course, training and the big data, as you can see here, that is our personal investment to make sure. And one of the topics that you can start at the beginning because it's a traffic that is asynchronous, so no problem to change to the cloud that type of ingest of data. So key points: the right cloud is not the cloud of others; it's your cloud as you define it. The results will be different on any of the clouds, so you need to understand those clouds. The cloud will be the right place to the right tool for your transformation. So don't treat the cloud lightly. The mistakes can be costly. Yes, we'll make some mistakes. No problem with that because we are learning. But the question is, how do you control them? So good practice, reference architectures, and governance. One cloud, that is the cloud of all the company, all the stakeholders. So it's important that they participate on this definition and on this transformation. And of course, to do that, the knowledge is essential. So the corporate cloud is a cloud for everyone. So training and certification need to be pushed for everyone to talk the same language. So based on this, how is our cloud? Well, is our strategy, our transformation, our new home defined by us. And that's what I tend to share with you guys, what was the concerns, the path that we took. And well, may the cloud be with you. And I open for some questions if I have some time.